if you really want to get a lot out of the trade show, it's a lot more than just showing up and putting up a sign. It's all about the preparation, like a lot of things. My name is David Payne. I'm the CEO of InventDev, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about trade shows. So maybe we can just open up to you. How many of you have gone to a trade show before? Pretty much everyone, I'm hoping. Okay. How many of you have actually exhibited at a trade show before? Oh, quite a few of you. Okay, so I'd say around 30%. That's great. So what I want to do today is I kind of want to highlight it from the perspective of an exhibitor. Now, my company is a B2B business, but there are a lot of things here that will share commonalities with the B2C. So most of you have been at a trade show. So trade shows are about energy. They're about buzz. It's a wonderful networking opportunity. It's really about innovation in your industry and being well-informed and well-educated. So it's really a good idea to make sure that you are actually attending trade shows in your particular area. You always will get a lot from it, and you'll meet more people in that 1 or 2 days than you would in many, many days otherwise. So it's a really, really great networking opportunity. Now, in terms of exhibition, you have to ask yourself, should I exhibit? And some of you might think it's just, or if you haven't had experience with it, you might think it's not really a big deal in terms of the energy that goes the energy involved. But what you have to really take in consideration before you jump into a trade show, first off, is you want to make sure that the trade show is focused on your actual target market. Otherwise, you might just be exhibiting but not really generating the leads and so on that you're looking for. So trade shows take a lot of money. And I'm not talking about the money per square foot. So if you're looking to exhibit at a trade show, they generally start after tax around $40 a square foot. But then you have all the other costs in terms of if you want a power supply, that's often over $100. If you want to rent equipment, that's very expensive. You have to have staff there. You have to pay their wages. The costs really add up, so they're significant. It also takes a tremendous amount of time. If you really want to get a lot out of the trade show, it's a lot more than just showing up and putting up a sign. It's all about the preparation, like a lot of things. It takes a significant amount of energy to go through a trade show. Pretty much that week before the trade show, you are going to be spending at least half your time there. Even if you try to delegate it, you really want the executive team there at the trade show. You need to have staff there who are well synced, who understand your strategy, who have a consistent message, and there's a lot of planning. That being said, there's a tremendous upside. But before you engage into a trade show, it's really good to set specific end goals. Now, depending on your company, those goals might vary. They could be generating leads. So in the case of B2B, generally in B2B, you don't make a sale at the show, but you want to generate qualified leads. In the case of customer discovery, it's an excellent way to really get feedback. So as opposed to meeting one person by one person, spending months trying to basically do customer discovery, during a show you can literally meet hundreds of people and you could really isolate, am I going down the right path? Do I need to pivot? You need to make these decisions really, really quickly, and that's the great thing about trade shows. You can do that. Customer lists. You can get mailing lists. You can form partnerships, which I'll talk a little bit about. Great networking opportunity, and as well gaining credibility at the show. And I'm going to talk a little bit about gaining credibility as well. And of course, making sales. If you're B2C, it's an excellent opportunity to try to generate a lot of sales. And if you don't generate sales, it's a good opportunity to find out and ask questions to say, would you buy this? And if they're not buying it, then you want to find out why. And if you hear the same message 50 times in one day, that's very valuable. So it's a good idea to set metrics up front. So before you start the conference or the show, look at this is just an example in B2B. So in this particular example, I'm saying, you know what? I want to generate 50 qualified leads. I'm not talking about just writing down people's names. I'm talking about you spoke to someone, you qualified them, you think they might be a good lead. That you want to necessarily translate into 15 actual face-to-face meetings. Of that, you might say within 2 months, I want to land 5 sales. I want to get 400 people on my mailing list, et cetera, et cetera. That will help you at least set benchmarks before you start the trade show. So I'm going to start with preparation, which is a key component of a trade show. First thing you need to decide is the booth location and the size. Booth location is really important actually because you want to make sure that your booth is centered around similar companies. Because if not, then when people come to the show and they want to find something in particular, so if you're selling, for example, lighting, you want to be in a lighting area. Because if you're a lighting company but you're way off on the other side of the floor, people are going to miss out on you. So the other thing is about size. As I mentioned, you get charged per square foot, but then there's also the location. So if you don't have anyone beside you in the booth, that might be considered a premium location because you get traffic in either aisle. So these are all things you have to consider and will factor in the budget. So in this case, we have a booth layout. This is just a quick sketch that we created. In this particular sketch, we want to have 3 experience centers for virtual reality. But in your particular situation, depending on what you're selling, it's still a good idea to have some kind of layout and review it with your team and go, this is what I actually translated into. So if you actually look at this is 2 different perspectives. We have a sign there on either corner. The reason we did that is because we want to make sure that when people walk down the aisles, they can see your sign from anywhere. The other thing as well is, which we'll show you later on, you can even see these signs when you're walking on the level above this main level. So location and the way you design your booth is especially important. Print. Don't leave print to the last minute. Print takes time to get it right. Often they may make mistakes, and as well, it gets a lot more expensive if you do rush orders. So you don't want to rush this. So in this particular case, we have a pull-up banner. You can reuse them many, many times. They're around $300 and up. So you want to kind of get your signage right. And in terms of flyers, is on the right as well. So you want to make sure that you have flyers so that when people leave your booth, they remember you. Equipment, depending on your company. In our case, we had an expensive investment in terms of equipment that we had to bring to the show. This needs to be planned and coordinated as well. You may need to rent trucks and equipment. If you're doing a trade show outside of Canada, the logistics get even more complicated. Strategy game plan. So looking at here, this is on actually a level above. So we want to make sure at our location, even for people on the other level, they can still see our booth, even when they're up above on another level. But also in strategy, as I showed you, we want to make sure our signs can be seen no matter where you're located in the booth. Now, in terms of strategy, one mistake I made, my first trade show, was I had long conversations, which is great. I would spend an hour speaking to someone who seemed very, very interested, and you want to be friendly. But at the same time, during that time, there are literally 40 people that walk by. So you have to be mindful of time, and you have to draw people in very, very quickly. People are in a rush. They're on their way to go, and what you need to do is draw them in. So you need to have a 10-second pitch. But that 10-second pitch needs to be the same pitch regardless of who's on the floor from your team. You don't want to have different people having different pitches. As well, one other thing is frequently asked questions. People always have questions when they come to the show. What do you do? What is this about? Why is this important? Why do I care? All these kinds of questions, you have to make sure that you've reviewed it with your team so that everyone can answer the questions effectively. And generally, you'll find that about 60% of the questions are the same. And then when the questions get a little bit more complicated, then your team will be then instructed to then forward that person to maybe one of your key salespeople or your marketing staff. Strategy in terms of giveaway and promotions. You don't want to decide the night before that you're going to start doing some promotions. Promotions can be anything from giveaways, but promotions as well can be things like discounts. These are things that you can advertise beforehand as well. Come to our show and experience a massive discount. Find out about, but you have to come to our booth to learn more. So in our particular case, we were giving away essentially a guided virtual reality experience with the purchase of any of our solutions. But there's a variety of different promotions you can offer. But the main thing is start the momentum before the show. You don't want to wait till the show and just kind of show up. You want to start generating momentum as much as possible before the show. You're there for a very short amount of time. So you want to reach out to your prospects, reach out to your leads, reach out to your mailing list, and make sure that everyone knows about your party. Think of it as like a big house party. You want to get everyone down there to the show. Schedule meetings and generate as much buzz as possible. Now I'm talking about the show. Now with the show, you have your metrics, you have your goals, you have a clear strategy. Everyone on your team knows exactly what they should do, what they need to say, where they need to stand even, because you need to have, for example, you might have people on the inbound. So for example, we had our sales, I shouldn't call them necessarily salespeople, but I could say we call them client relations, but we had them on the outer perimeters. Did it welcome people into our booth or like welcome them to your home? Come on, check it out. Have you ever experienced virtual reality before? You've got to try it. Right? Get them in. Once they get in, then they are passed on to the more technical people who can then do the tour. The worst thing is that you have a crowded booth, but you don't have enough staff to address them. Or you have the wrong people addressing, you don't want a technical person addressing a huge potential lead. So this needs to be planned in advance. So stay goal focused. You want to generate traffic, and that again aligns with the strategy, the planning, the preparation. And if you've done your homework, you will generate traffic. Engaging visitors is important because you want to make sure that when people are walking by your booth, they stop and they look. You want to stand out. Now, whether that is amazing signage, in our case, it wasn't signage. I wanted to kind of limit the budget in that regard, but I wanted to instead up my game from the actual interactive experience with virtual reality. The thing as well as you got to think is that when people leave the show, you want to be the last, you want to make sure you're on their mind. So when you call them up, they're like, oh, you're that guy. You want to build relationships with all this buzz around, digital media and SEO and all that. Sometimes we lose sight of the importance of the human connection. People like to feel the love. People buy from people they trust. They buy from people they like. They buy from people they think are on their side. So it's really a great way to build relationships literally with 100 people or more. You need to stay energized. By the end of the night, you might feel like a zombie. And if someone comes in and you're literally falling asleep as you're looking at them, they're going to get the wrong message. So schedule, if you can, schedule shifts. So you might have a morning shift and an afternoon shift. And that way people are on their game. Take pictures and video. As you can see from all my slides, these are all pictures that we took during our show. Leverage it, use it. This is a great opportunity. Bring credibility to your website. Take lots of digital pictures. Establish credibility. Now, in terms of establish credibility, I don't mean just putting up necessarily your booth, but I'm also try to speak at the event if you can. And when you do speak, this is your opportunity to educate the market. You may not realize how much you actually know. You are industry experts in your own domain. Don't feel shy. Go out there, reach out. Speak to the conference organizer and say, you know what, I'll have a booth, but I need to speak at this event, and here's why. Get up on stage, start speaking, start educating. It's really important that you start building your own brand. Providing press kits, you can provide them at the show. They're basically packages that you provide, and then you hope that press will pick them up and then essentially write about you. And you want to start generating press. So one of the things that we have done is generated a tremendous amount of press, again, through speaking, through reaching out to press, and so on. So take advantage. Generating sales might be a main goal of the B2C, and generating qualified leads generally will be one of your primary goals, most likely, of B2B. But it could be as simple as customer discovery. If you're really not sure about your product, it might be worth the investment. You don't need the big booth. But use it as a great opportunity because time is of the essence in entrepreneurship. After the show, follow up. If you don't follow up, it's a lost opportunity. And this is a mistake I made on my first show. I was so tired. I feel like I just basically felt like sleeping for 5 days afterwards. So follow up, save the energy, identify your top 10 leads in B2B, or follow up with your email list. Just do it. Reserve your energy. It's like the final stretch. You got to make it, because if you don't, people forget about you. Afterwards, do a lessons learned. What went well? What could we done differently? And look at your ROI metrics. And if you didn't achieve them, figure out what could we have done? Where did we fall flat? Now you want to calculate the ROI. So you want to measure and compare. And sometimes you don't know right off onset whether you actually made your ROI. If in the case of B2B, you might not know after 3 to 6 months if your sales cycle is a long sales cycle. But in the case of B2C, you might know right away whether it worked or it did not work. So basically, I want to summarize. You want to basically, from the onset, establish measurable goals. It's really great because you can then ensure that you are at the right conference. You can look at your metrics and basically figure out, you know what, am I in the right show? Do I have enough people visiting my booth? How many people do I need to visit my booth? What's my conversion rate? You can kind of go through this exercise with you and your team. And bring your team in the picture too. This is a collaborative exercise. It's worthwhile because when they come to the show, they're more invested and they're not just learning last minute. Preparation is absolutely important. It's the most important thing. If you don't prepare and you just show up, then you're not going to get the value. You're leaving essentially value or money on the table. Follow your plan. By the time you are at the show, everyone should know their plan. After the show, basically, as I said, if you don't follow up at the show, then don't bother showing up. Now, that may sound harsh, but that's what happened with us. We did all this work, and we thought it was a great event, had hundreds of business cards, And after that, we did follow up, but we followed up over time. It took us a while to get through those business cards. So I'm going to give you one tip right now. One way to get through that in terms of following up. You have 200 business cards. How do you get through 200 business cards in one night? One thing I would suggest is, in the case of business to business, rank them on your business card. So you meet someone, you ask them the questions. By the time you're finished with them, you want to ensure that you have a good understanding of what the fit is. Is there a fit? Do they need your service? Basically, what we would do is we would write down one star would represent a conversation I had with someone where they said, you know what, this is great, I've heard a lot about it, I'm not sure if I'm interested. That's 1 star. 2 stars is yeah, I could see this really work with my team. What I need to do is I'll review it with my VP of my company, and we'll see if there's a fit. That's a 2 because that's not the decision maker, that's an influencer. 3 is you meet the CEO or the VP, in my particular case, they're engaged, they're interested, they say, we would have closed the deal yesterday if we had your product. That's a 3. Those are the ones you want to follow up first. Then you can follow up with the second and so on. So prioritize your leads, categorize them, put a star. When you get their business card, flip it over, put the star on there, put them all in a jar, all your cards. You don't want cards floating all over the place and then you're trying to pick them up. Be organized that way and that'll save a lot of time. And of course, enjoy the show.